This conference will now be recorded.
Ah, there you go. Oh, and I see Mike getting on. Well, thank you all for joining me. Um, Today on Monday, the 13th of June in 2022, we have some regulars. I'll call it that because I don't want to call them old faces. Then I'd have to buy them Botox. And we have some new faces, which is always very fun and very exciting. So we have a mix of veterans and new people, and I always love the veterans because sometimes they know the process better than I do, and if I forget something, they keep me on track. Uh, but basically, this meeting will have three parts. The first part is we'll go through a round of introductions, so everybody can take a minute or two to introduce themselves, say their name, their business, what they do, services they provide, who would be an ideal client, maybe even mention where they are geographically, because again, we have quite a bit of geographic variety here today. Uh, the second part of the meeting is hopefully the short introductions trigger questions or comments from people based on those introductions. Maybe they want to learn a little bit more about what you do or have a lead for you or something. So we'll do that. And then the third part of the meeting, hopefully we still have a little bit of time. We can talk about business topics of general interest. And I guess there's no shortage between inflation and the Fed and the war in Ukraine and everything that's going on. Crypto is crashing today, Bitcoin, if you follow that. So certainly we won't have a shortage of topics for today's meeting. And we'll try to get out of here between 45 and 55 minutes after the hour in case you have another video chat coming up at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time here. So, with that out of the way, I'm going to start with one of my veterans. I'm going to go in order, but luckily it's a person that's been here before. So, Jerry, why don't you take a minute or two and introduce yourself to the group and tell them about you and all you do and all that good stuff?
Sure. Jerry Luco, ATD Business Consulting with a DBA of Franchise Business Source. And I have a couple of other things that I do too, but where I spend most of my time is helping aspiring and serial entrepreneurs. I love people that want to broaden their portfolio, but helping them find a franchise business that's a perfect fit for what they're looking for, be that money, freedom, time, lifestyle, supplementary income, their plan B in case, that kind of thing. I work with uh, somewhere between 325 and 350 different businesses. So there's no shortage of different types of businesses that I could help someone find, different investment levels, different industries, you name it. I probably have someone that does it. Um, I also, in my spare time, do travel agency work. So I used to belong to a franchise and actually decided not to be a franchisee. I now work with another franchisee. So that has actually been keeping me pretty busy so far this summer, is the travel side. So I'm based in Columbus, Ohio, and no matter what I do, I work nationwide. So pick a business and it's nationwide.
There you go. That's the wonderful thing. We're all, I think, almost all of us working across the whole nation now. So, Ashley, just because I'm going in order, I know you're new to this, but I think Jerry gave you a very good example. So, if you could just take a minute or two to introduce yourself to the rest of the group, please.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So my name is Ashley Powinski. I'm the partner account manager at Human Interest. Human Interest, we're pretty much a 401k startup. Pretty much it was two small business owners that saw that there's a retirement crisis. A lot of small businesses don't offer a 401k. So they saw that opportunity for that niche. So they they created Human Interest. And pretty much what I do is I'm not really client facing. I'm more of the partnership side. So I partner with either CPAs, so accountants, financial advisors, benefit brokers, and then also like smaller local payroll companies. Just to get, just to meet with them, try and get their clients, and just educate them about retirement, especially like in New York State. Connecticut, they do have the retirement mandates. Like I know Connecticut at the end of this month, actually, any companies over 100, they have to offer a 401k. Otherwise, if they don't, they will get heavily fined. So New York is actually following suit too. They haven't announced it yet, but right now it's with any company that has over 10 employees, they are recommending that they should be offering a retirement plan to them, just because obviously it helps retain and attract, that top talent, but also too just helps just individuals save for retirement. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you. And then coming, I don't know if you guys even have the same layout that I do, but I'm going to go across to Patrick, all the way in Ireland. Patrick, same thing. If you could give us your introduction, please. Oh, and you're muted from your
I've
side.
unmuted myself. Yes, thank you. It's great to be here. I was just thinking of Jerry there earlier on. She said she was um, in contact with thousands of people, and I think she could go for politics, and she would have she'd have an immediate audience. They'd all vote for her. You see, so it's something for her to consider. But anyway, look, there are two very important areas in all our lives. One is financial, and the other one is our health and physical well-being. And I'm seriously addressing both of these by reimagining healthcare and how the body, health, and disease actually work. There has been a huge breakthrough in the health and wellness industry that nobody else has. It's now in 33 countries, opening up tremendous financial opportunity. Why? Why has this happened? Because science is now pointed to a whole new level, the cellular level of health, using groundbreaking redox technology impacting every organ and function in the body, including up to 800% increase in the master antioxidant glutathione that detoxifies every cell in the body. We have medical experts calling this the most significant science breakthrough of our lifetime. It's all about amplifying and clarifying critical cell signaling, and the differences making in most people's lives is absolutely astonishing. For many people, this is now the missing link for better health and vitality, independently validated, 100% non-toxic, enabling us to have a real advantage. Redox signaling introduces a higher level of health because it goes beyond nutrition, beyond ingredients, and impacts the body at a depth that no other supplement has ever come close to achieving. My wish is to connect with those who have a health challenge, or those who are health conscious, or those who are involved in activities such as sports, cycling, or whatever. Now in 33 countries, opening up tremendous financial opportunity. Thank you, Sal, for the invitation and the gift of everybody's attention. My details are in the chat.
Oh, see, once again, the benefit of the veterans. Please put your contact information in the chat. I forgot to say that. And later tonight, when I send out a link to this video, I will also send out whatever you put in the chat. So put your contact information, websites, whatever you want me to share. Conversely, if you don't want me to share it with the whole group, don't put it in the chat. Um, Andrew, thank you for joining us and welcome. And I think you got the idea. And now we can see you. And if you could unmute yourself and just give us your introduction, please.
Yeah, my breakthrough for the day is figuring out how to make my camera work. We got it. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. I am in close to Raleigh, North Carolina. My name is Andrew, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys are all doing business-wise. I'm a copywriter. So what I love to do is figure out what makes your business unique and make sure that your audience understands that, make sure that it's digestible, and that your message on your website and in your marketing is relevant to them in a way that they can understand and that makes them want what you have for them. That's what I do. So thank you, guys.
Perfect. And as soon as we're done with the introductions, I have a question for you, but we'll finish that first.
Absolutely.
So now one of my favorite buddies out in Ohio, Columbus, Mike, same thing. If you could give us your introduction, please.
LinkedIn doesn't work. Google ads don't work. You hear this? You hear this often? Guess what? If they didn't work, they wouldn't exist. It's not the platform. It's never the platform. The reason customers are not connecting with your network, it's because your network is not using the right messaging, the right words. Neuroscience and genetic studies have taught us that humans also act on instinct, right? It's not just squirrels and dogs. And if you know the language that taps into someone's emotion based on your brand and your service, we can get people to take actions towards you before they even think about it. So if you've got business owners that are coming to you saying these various advertising platforms don't work, just know it's not the platform. Send them to me, and I can help them understand the messaging, the imaging, the colors, and the symbology that will help to connect their brand to their prospects. I'm Mike Mosteller, president of Buckeye Business Performance.
Perfect. Fantastic. Thank you. And last but not least, another one of my favorite personalities and a regular here on the video chat, Rhoda, if you could give us your introduction, please.
Hello, everyone from Indianapolis, Indiana. Had some trouble getting my face on the screen this time. I don't know what I did wrong, but my business is called Say It For You, and my team and I write what you read when you go on our clients' websites. And I know that Mike said some very intelligent things here about marketing, and my team focuses on the wordsmithing piece of the marketing puzzle. So we often work as subcontractors to marketing agencies, and then we're given a job and we find the words. So we say it for you.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Well, so does anybody have any questions or want to dig deeper with anybody
Yeah,
based on the
yeah, yeah.
introductions?
I have a question. Mike caught me going there with neuroscience and stuff stuff like that. But I'm just trying to connect it all up, Mike, and because many of us have a LinkedIn account, but we send information, and then people say, "Yeah, I'd like to know more," and then you write a script, and that goes out to them. So, are you saying we're not using the right language?
If the only way you're getting leads from LinkedIn is you messaging, then I already know you're not using the right language. So the way that my profile is set up, I have people that I've never talked to before. I've never messaged them. I've never engaged in a single post. We have no connection. They find me. They walk through my profile in the order that I want them to, and they schedule a call knowing it is a sales call with me. And that happens multiple times a week. If you're not there, then you're not messaging. There's opportunity in your messaging. As far as reaching out to people, absolutely. Yeah, the more work you're doing, the bigger the benefit will be to get those keywords and key symbols and images in your work.
So you and Rhoda work together, sorry, well, on the same kind of platform using language emotionally charged and connecting with people in a way that is meaningful to them.
So if Rhoda and I work together, it would be people would come to me and I would help them understand their high level brand and what are the key messages we want to use, what are the key images and words, and then Rhoda would be the expert who would thread that message through all of their customer facing communications, websites, blogs, posts, etc. That
Oh,
would be how we would work together. And we should, Rhoda. I love you. She's one of my buddies.
look, if you guys want to have a conversation, just start up there. I mean, I'm all ears here.
Yeah. Well, by the way, that also reminds me, one of the purposes of this group is to encourage people to have follow-up conversations later at another time. So that's why, again, I always share the contact information later tonight so that people can set up their own meetings. And I know meetings have come out of this and business deals have come out of this. So that's always fun and rewarding for me, and it's the reason I keep doing these meetings. So anybody else have any other questions or comments based on the introductions? No? Andrew, I want to ask you one quick question. because I was looking at your profile on LinkedIn, and I saw some of your videos on YouTube. You play the violin, correct? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, I try to mute myself between bits of conversation so that I'm not clearing my throat or whatever. You don't have to listen to all that. Yeah, my undergrad degree is in violin performance. I have a Bachelor of Music degree, and I've spent the last 20 years working in the arts as an actor and a musician and a musical director and playwright.
Okay,
So
so
that, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, first of all, I want to encourage everybody on the call, and if you're okay, I'll even email it tonight, to go visit his YouTube channel and his videos, because there's some very nice music of, and him playing the violin, and there's even one with a buddy of his. So anyway, take a listen to him on YouTube.
Thank you for that, Sal.
And by the way, I'm also going to email you. I'm working with a lady that has a project to help children that have disabilities to play the violin. So I'm just going to email you that so you can take a look at it. Maybe it's something that's of interest to you.
Yeah.
Because again, this is ideal for somebody that's in the music industry, plays the violin or the cello or
Yeah.
viola, one of the string instruments.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you so much. I would really appreciate that. And Rhoda and Mike, I appreciate what both of you were saying about connecting with an audience as well. I've been really fascinated copywriting is a career transition for me, but as I get into it with the parallels between what I've done in the arts and in theater, which is you only get a few seconds to grab someone's attention and to have them. People decide very instantaneously whether they want to listen to more or hear more of what you have. And how we work that magic is very similar to what I've done in the arts, working in small creative teams, just making sure that we approach people gently and kindly, but in a way that is appealing to them. I think it makes all the difference. Any small business, you can't jump in people's faces. You have to let them come to you with language that is welcoming and enticing.
So, Michael, I will invite you to say that in words and do a guest blog post about the similarities between listeners to music and blog readers, content readers. And I will post it with link back to your website on my website.
Rhoda, you said Michael. I presume you meant me, right? Did you mean Andrew?
I meant Andrew. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Just to be clear, I just want to make sure. Thank you.
Andrew, do you have niches? I mean, where do you tend to focus your client set?
I haven't centered in too much on a niche. What I love to do most, I would say, is anything that has a playful side to it. Anything that's a little bit creative or kitschy. I love helping brands find their brand voice. And that may be a little more applicable to, say, a company that sells games and toys to toddlers for brain development than for like a medical company, right? So a playfulness usually won't apply as much to a medical thing. Not that I can't do that work as well and help take a complex idea and make it understandable and make that appealing. But I really love to do work that's playful and has personality and kitschiness to it. I think that really ties into my background in the arts the best.
And do you tend to do blogs or social media or both, or where do you focus your efforts?
No, I mostly do. I like to do banner ads and landing pages and about pages when there's a startup or a company that's trying to just say to the world, we're starting this idea, and you need a paragraph that says this is what the company does in a way that will get people to read from the beginning of that paragraph to the end of that paragraph and understand succinctly what it is that you do. That's what I like to do.
Oh, I cannot find the chat on this software. Where is the chat?
Well, at least on my screen, if you look at the top right, there's like a little square that looks almost like a little thought
Ah,
bubble, but it's kind of square.
I got it. I got it. Thank you. Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
Hey, Ashley, let me ask you a question. because I lost something in your introduction. You mentioned that you do work in New York and Connecticut. So I guess one question is, what states do you do work in, and or are you allowed to do work in? And I keep hearing, and maybe this is by state too, are there some states that are mandating that people get automatically enrolled in 401ks when they start working?
Yes. So I was gonna say, so yeah, pretty much where I sit in Long Island, New York. My territory is Staten Island, um, part of New York City, and then also the Bronx. But depending where that, introduction or referral comes from, I'm able to work it. It's just that partner has to be, you know what I mean, sitting, if that makes sense. But then it depends too. It's like as long as I get the A-OK, it's pretty much like I can work with anyone, as long as someone else isn't speaking that to them from my company. And then to answer your question about how they're kind of auto enrolling um, employees and 401k plans. So pretty much like with New York State, that's what's pretty much gonna happen. It's called the New York Choice. So pretty much it's like if they don't offer a retirement plan, say a small business, a company, they're automatically going to be enrolled in the state one 401k plan, which isn't the best because pretty much there's some limitations where your max contribution, for example, is only 6,000 compared to 20,500 if you went through us or did it with another provider. It's also post tax, so you're going to be paying taxes on it. And then also too, I don't think you can even take out a loan against it too. So say if you needed to borrow money from your 401k, you wouldn't be able to. There's more information and I can send it out whoever would, like to kind of know more about it.
Huh, interesting. So you're going to be basically obligated to get on a 401k in New
Mhm.
York.
Yeah. Like right now, Connecticut, like I said, by the end of, I know it's June 30th is their deadline. So any companies that have 100 employees or more, they're going to have to either enroll in the Connecticut state plan or go through a third party like with me through human interest.
So let me ask you this real quick. And I'm a big believer in 401k, by the way. I always
Mhm.
maxed them out. I thought it was a great program and gave benefit. But I understand that, frankly, some people that may be struggling financially, the
Mhm.
last thing they need is more money taken out of their paycheck. So I guess my question, bottom line, is, do you expect this to be seen favorably by the employees? Do you expect, I'm assuming you can back out if you don't want to participate or not. So
Mhm.
what do you see from the employee side?
Exactly. So I was going to say, I mean, depending on employees, especially me, I'm 32. So I know when I was interviewing for companies, if they didn't offer, medical benefits, dental insurance, vision, a 401k, PTO, like, why would I go work for them? So I almost feel like it's kind of like us younger. We're like kind of, we want what we want. And it's like, and we just see that other companies will offer that too. So I know a lot of employees, they do want that. And it's funny because I know when I worked at ADP, I worked with small businesses. So some of them would have, 5 employees, and some of them would say, no, I don't want to offer a 401k plan. Like, I'm paying this person like minimum wage, what have you. But then also, too, that's why they had such high turnover. So it was like they were always, you know what I mean, either hiring and then quickly firing that person and trying to find, another good talent. Um, so yeah, it depends. I mean, I can see some of the smaller businesses, but that's why too with New York, it's any business over 10 employees because I think they kind of see, it can be pricey. Even with human interest, it's like we have our 3 pricing bundles, and we're very transparent with our pricing. But it's not cheap. So that's why too I feel like they're kind of almost putting it towards like the smaller businesses, so anything 10 or more, but anything less than that, it's doesn't really make sense, for the business.
Okay.
So
Oh, by
it
the way,
depends.
and before I make the comment I was going to make, I forgot to introduce myself. I get so excited sometimes I forget to introduce myself. So I'll go back to that for a second. I'm a business broker. I help people buy and sell businesses, and kind of like a lot of you, I used to work maybe a 2 hour driving radius around here, but now through the magic of the internet, I'm working with people all over the U.S. And the reason I wanted to give that as an introduction is, as part of what I do, I get to see everybody's financial statements. I get to see everybody's tax returns. And frankly, sometimes for some small businesses, they're literally, the owner is working to pay the employees and pay the landlord and maybe some miscellaneous expenses, and after that there's not a whole lot left. So I'm more cognizant and more sensitive than the average person, that every little bit that you throw on an employer, it doesn't seem like much, but every little bit adds up, and when you're there on the hairy edge of being profitable or not, anything can throw you over the edge. So, I mean, that's just the way it is. And, of course, like everything, we just hear in the media of the great success stories, right? We hear about Facebook and Amazon and this guy and the other guy, but we don't hear about the 99% that are either struggling or have gone out of business. I mean, that's just if you were struggling or have some small profit before the coronavirus, maybe the coronavirus killed you off, right? Um, yeah, no pun intended. That's a bad joke. Um, anyway, before we move on, any other questions or comments based on the introductions?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Andrew, my calendar is in the chat, and based on what you're doing, I have recently came across a tool that takes what used to take me 4 to 6 weeks, takes less than 10 minutes, and it's all about identifying that it's that initial brand identification. So I've grown a dozen consumer brands from the early stages to into the hundreds of millions of dollars, and this thing is far beyond any tool I've ever seen in the space. So I can show it to you. I'm not affiliate. I don't make any money off of it, but I can show it to you, and maybe it'll help you out.
Awesome. And did you saying like I can find that in your calendar link that you shared?
Just yeah, just get some time on the calendar, and I'll show you the tool.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, awesome.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, listen, it's time for just open general discussion. Maybe I'll kick it off this way, just by a quick show of hands. Nothing, even click on anything. Just raise your hand. How many people think we're headed for a recession between here and the end of the year? No,
I've
yes,
got
maybe.
I've got something to say on that, right? Just before we get into that, I wrote this down. Look, the world totally lives on self-fulfilling expectations.
Yeah.
So why does the stock market go up, or why does the stock market go down? And so if something this powerful can run by a self-fulfilling expectation, in other words, there's a recession coming, the price of food is going to escalate. This is an expectation. Where did it come from? Where did it germinate? Why do we keep using this? Because in our lives, we need to be careful what expectations we set for ourselves.
Right, I agree.
That's just a thought for today now.
Okay. Well, does anybody want to take the? I'll even say it this way: does anybody want to take the opposing view that we're not going to have a recession between here and the end of the year, and maybe I'll even throw in the first quarter of next year just to be super safe? No, nobody wants to take the opposing view. Now, see
It's
that
not.
talk about.
I will
Come on,
sell just
Mike.
for I will
Come
just
on,
for
Mike.
fun. Okay, our minimum wage is sub $10, right?
Yeah.
But we recently had businesses like Target, Kohl's, Amazon, all these large employers create a new minimum wage of $15. That has not yet probably fully set in, and all of the impact of that and to people. Um, so while prices are going up 9%, the the poorest folks, right, the folks making those smallest wages, have actually gotten a raise that's bigger than that 8, 9, 10% of inflation. So the people who spend the majority of their money on the basics, gasoline, food, etc., their raise is actually outpacing inflation. So they should be able to spend and actually even have a better lifestyle than they had 18 to 24 months ago when they were making less than $10 an hour.
Okay, but wait. So hold on. I'm going to challenge you there because let's say you got a raise from $10 to 15, right? That's like a 50% raise.
Mm-hmm.
But gas went up from $3 to, let's just say, 5, and some people are saying it's going to get to 6. I don't want to get ahead of the story, but even 3 to 5, which is $2 on 3, that's a 66%. And obviously, you buy a lot of other stuff beyond gas, but this is the one that helps me make the case. You're pumping gas, you're still behind the curve.
Yeah, if that's where you're spending all your money. If the rest of it's 9% and gas is 60%, somewhere in there, there's a mix that takes it to less than 50, right? So if you, let's say everything else was 10 and gas, that would make if it was 50, if you spent half your money on gas, it would only be a 35% increase, even if you spent half your income on gas, which we know that's not probably the case for most people. So it's still
One
going to be definitely under that 50%.
one of the things
Rhoda.
that
We challenge this, Al. I love it. Love it.
one of the things that always amazes me is I belong to a group that likes to visit different restaurants once a week, and so we meet. And the so-called recession, the restaurants are absolutely packed. There aren't enough people serving there, but there are people eating, families, grandpas and babies. Everybody's out spending, and what is quite a bit of money, because my son and I went out for a light breakfast at Panera, and we spent $32 between the two of us on a light breakfast in Indianapolis where costs are low. So I'm saying, so sooner or later, this is going to hit home, whether that means recession, which is dramatic, or whether it means a gradual tamping down is the question.
This
Where you
is this
started,
is
you started
absolutely
your conversation.
fascinating. Yeah.
Go
Sorry,
ahead,
Mike.
Patrick.
Go on. Go on.
Sorry, sir. Yeah, so Rhoda, you started your conversation there about there's not enough servers. So that's another thing that's keeping us out of recession. Is there's
Right?
this huge demand for labor in all of these open positions. So even if one company is to make some cutbacks, there's
That's
still
right.
plenty of openings for all these other people out there. I mean, it's almost impossible for most of my clients to hire right now. We've got administrative assistant positions open for 6 months in some cases because we can't
Yeah.
fill them at the same rates everybody else is marketing them at. There just aren't enough people. It's not about the money, it's about the people. So, based on the number of open positions, I think we could withstand several large layoffs and just have those people transition into the open positions, and it may not kick in to a full recession.
I agree with you.
This was not my point. This was not my point of view when the conversation started. But in order to take the contrary position and give us a debate, these are the points that I can come up with on the other side to say we
No,
wouldn't.
that's
Right?
fine. And here's the only thing I'll add, and this is a little bit of a wrinkle and very complicated to figure out. But remember too, when you're making $10 an hour versus 15, not all of that goes into your bank account for you to write checks for gasoline or restaurants or dry cleaners or whatever, right? You lose some to taxes, and then as you go up, you lose more to taxes, and then Ashley's going to roll you into a 401k that maybe you didn't have before, which is a good thing, but still money that's not available for you to buy gas or go to the restaurant. So you got to be careful because I will give you an example of a restaurant I used to love to go to, and I don't have obviously the record keeping, but I have a good feel. Two people, Mexican restaurant, nothing fancy, but $30, $33. Now, two people, same Mexican restaurant, more or less the same meal, still very tasty, still very good, 45 to 50.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I just got back from Boston, so I went into Whole Foods at their new, upgraded upped pricing. My salad was like $24. Just the pay and she goes salad, and it's not that I just dumped dressing into it, make it as heavy as I could. It was a $24 salad. So yeah, no,
That
I
must have been a massive salad, Mike. It must have been something like, a horse would eat. It wasn't just a big, big load of everything. Wonderful, no?
think more of it was the price per pound than it was the pounds.
But look, going back to language is, that fulfilling expectations. If we take, for instance, men and women, we are told in all these arguments about equal pay and all this kind of stuff that women are different than men. Now, that's absolutely true. But women are not inferior.
I'm
Women
glad
are
you
not
told me. I'm
inferior.
glad
They
you mentioned.
never were inferior and they never will be. But we were led to believe because women and men are different. There was an implication there that women are inferior. But that's not true.
Yeah, no, you're right. When I tell people something is different, I always make the clarification. I say different doesn't mean better or worse, right?
That's right.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
yellow and black. I mean, their colors is not that one's better than the other. They're just different colors, and some people like yellow, some people like black, but they're colors, and depending on what you're doing, one may be better or suited for that than the other.
Yeah, two quick comments. We're suddenly on a very different topic than when we started, but I'm totally fine with that. Uh, I think men and women are different. I think anytime we make generalizations about them being different or being the same, we're leading ourselves astray. It's the generalizations that hurt us. That's my first point. Not all men are built the same. I do things that are traditionally considered very unmasculine, and I'm a heterosexual male. I don't. That doesn't define me. So I think our generalizations hurt us. The second thing is just, Patrick, I appreciate your comment on that, but historically, we have paid women less for the same work, the same amount of work, the same quality
Yes,
of work, the same
yes,
consistency of work.
yes.
Sometimes we've paid them less for better work and more consistent work and more creative work. And I just want to make sure that that's in the conversation, because it's
Oh,
not
yes.
it's not just an error in our misperceiving one gender being better than the other. We have really built some things into our system that compensate women differently and less for the same work.
Absolutely. But ongoing all the time is the a kind of a culture or a tone that women are not as good as men. I mean, I'm speaking in the most general terms. Some women are better, some men are better, and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But I mean, the implication here is that women are somewhat inferior to men, which is disgusting.
Yeah. But Andrew, so hold
I'm
on. I'm going
sorry,
to
I'm
challenge
ranting
you.
there. I'm sorry, I went on a rant there. Sorry.
Oh,
No,
we
that's
we
fine, Andrew. So I'm going to challenge you on two things.
Okay.
Um, and you can answer either one or both, or in however you want. But one is, a lot of times we talk about, equal work for equal pay, but it's really, really hard to define, what equal positions are. Okay, just like two houses that may be in the same neighborhood, but still, just the fact that one is to the right, one is to the left, makes those houses different, and those houses have different prices, right? Now you're talking about maybe comparing a librarian to a policeman. I mean, somebody could come in and say, okay, those are equal work, but But trust me, I'd rather be a librarian than a policeman. Okay. Um, and then the other one is I always again think about it with my hat of a business owner. Frankly, business owners want to pay their employees as much as they think they can afford, because the last thing they want is the turnover. The last thing they want is to lose a valuable employee and have to rehire and have to retrain. I'm always a big believer that if they're not paying more, it's because right, wrong, or indifferent, they perceive that they can't pay more, because if they could, they would, because it would reduce their turnover, increase the morale, more motivated employees, whatever. It's in their best interest to pay as much as they can. So I'll leave those 2 points for you to react.
I agree
Um,
with you.
yeah. To that last point, let me see if I can get at this. That is only true until the point where we have normalized paying women less, in which case, I would amend your statement that companies will pay as much as they can. No, companies will pay as much as they think they need to keep an employee there. That's what they'll pay. They'll pay what they need to prevent turnover. And if across the board women are being paid 20% less, then across the board companies feel free to pay women that they hire 20% less, because that's the standard we've set for what is necessary to keep that woman in that job. Does that make sense? Was that English?
No, I think it's. Does anybody want to react or comment or to either reaffirm or take the opposite position?
I like his response better than your comment, Sal. So
Fair enough.
and you're right. I would say that they pay with exceptions, obviously, but they probably pay as little as they can, but as much as they need to Andrew's point.
And these systemic things, and we're in a social discussion now, and that's fine. But there are, you were saying, well, it's hard to compare. Sometimes it's not apples to apples. There are ways economically to parse out those differences. I can give another example. That they've done very clear studies, and this is taking a slightly different approach. But if an African American submits a resume and their name is Shaquanda Davis versus Ashley Davis or Mary Davis, exact same resume, the success rate of that resume making it to the person that's actually doing the hiring is measurably different with all of the other same words. They've done studies on this, and so that's just another area where systemically we just have a bias against somebody's name being Shaniqua instead of being Judy, and I think we're working on I think we're making progress in these areas. I'm not here to say how terrible the world is. We've come a long way, but I think some of the same things you could say for women. If your name is Lucy Crow instead of Andrew Crow, there just might be a little bit of a bias when that first comes across someone's table.
So in the vein of a social discussion, on Friday night at Mensa meeting, one of the chief medical officers for Eli Lilly and Company made a list of characteristics of a human being, and they included your height, your age, your gender, your race, etc. And then the word obesity as one of those characteristics. And the point that she brought out is that for every other one, other than obesity, we have laws forbidding us to discriminate based on that thing. But we have no law that protects the obese who may, it's not their fault. And she's a diabetes study specialist, so this is where this was leading. But it was very interesting that people make judgments when they read our copy, Mike, when they go to our website and they see the colors. People are people. So people make judgments. So I'm looking at, and Mike, he's kind of falling asleep here or bored or whatever. He's giving me one impression, and then I'm looking here at Andrew, and he's alive. He's paying attention to me. So we all make judgments all the time, and so employers make judgments too.
Mm-hmm.
So Rhoda, this is my thought position, by the way, not my ignoring you. What I was thinking as you were saying that was, and I'm asking this question because I'm not a lawyer, but do we have protections for someone who has cancer or AIDS?
We don't.
Right.
And
So the reason we don't with
she brought that very thing up. She said we don't have protections for that, and we shouldn't have, but we should have protections for. That's the opposite argument. You're correct about that, because if we protect obesity and think of it as an illness, then we need to have protections for cancer as well.
right. That's
Well, but
where
wait a minute. I guess it depends what you mean by protections, because, for example, there's the Family Medical Leave Act, and I'm not an expert in human resources, but I'm sure there's other stuff out there. So if it's an issue of you getting time off from work to go get your treatment without losing your job, I think there's some protections for that.
So we're going to solve the world's problems in 1 hour today.
Well, guys, actually, that does really remind me that we're at 2:53 here, according to the little clock on my computer. I usually try to get people out between 2:45 and 2:55, just to give you guys a chance to grab a drink of water before your next meeting at 3. But this is a discussion that I would love to continue next time if we get I know some of the folks joining us again in 2 weeks. So we will do this meeting in exactly 2 weeks at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'd love to again have all of you join us and continue the discussion, and maybe some other people join us. And I will send out a link to the recording later tonight. I will send out what you've put in the chat. And thank you very much for joining us. And again, feel free to set up follow-up meetings. Like I said, Andrew, I'm going to shoot you something. Jerry, I'm going to call you, and if you're available in a couple minutes, and we'll take it from there.
Thank you.
Sal,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
Sal,
you,
I put in the
Andrew.
chat that I'm on meetings until 4, so if you can call me after 4.
All right, you got it.
Sal,
All right,
thank
thank
you
you
for
all very
being a
much.
wonderful
Thank
host
you, everyone.
and expanding our horizons. Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
You
Thank
too,
you.
Ashley.
Bye
Bye.
bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.